Hi everyone, we're going to look at on the impact of price changes and the trade agreements on the economic development. Here we'll be focusing most on the analysis of inflation, looking how the CPI affect the inflation. Also, we see the advantages of trade agreements and some challenges that the countries in the trade agreements may face and the economic implications. Let's start with the overview. Uh, as I said, we are going to see the impacts of inflation on the prices, or pardon, or how the prices of goods and the services impact the inflation, and also we see the use of consumer, how we can use the consumer price index, the CPI, to track the inflation rate, and also we see the how the trade agreements, the challenges in the trade agreements, some benefits and some benefits, and how the trade agreement is done. Let us proceed with this table. This is a table of a basket of some goods here, which are mostly bought here in Rwanda: bread, milk, and fuel. So we see that the different prices of these goods in different years, over 5 years. Uh, let's start with bread. We see that the the price per unity of bread in 2K18 in 2018 was $2, and when we look on this year of 2019, we see that there is an increase of $0.10. So this is the price of units, and we have the same the same quantity. So this price and the quantity, when we multiply them together, we get the total cost. So by looking on this column of the total cost, you see that there is an increase of $5. So let us see on the milk side. Also, we see that in the unity price there's an increase of $0.10, as well as how it was on the side of bread. So as also you see that it has affected the total cost. There is an increase, like the total cost of the same quantity of the this year of 2018 is not the same as the total cost of this year of 2019. There is an increase because there is a change in unit price. So as it is in the fuel, on the side of fuel, there's an increase. So let us try to analyze this in the lens of CPI. So what is CPI? CPI is the Consumer Price Index. So I can say that is a measurement used to analyze the increase in prices of goods, to see how it affects the inflation. It is used to measure the inflation rate in a certain period of time. So let us proceed. So you can ask yourself, how is the CPI calculated? For you to calculate the CPI, you take the basket of goods in a certain year, in the current year, over the basket of goods in the previous year times 100. Let us see here. Let's go back on the okay, like but by seeing how let us try to remember how the table was. Let's say you want to calculate the CPI for the year of 2019. You want to calculate the CPI uh, for 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 bread. For you take the total cost. You take the total cost of 2K19 over the total cost of 2K18 times 100. When you do that, you get 103.85. So that's the the overall CPI for bread, for a certain good. So you continue to do the calculation until you get the CPI. Let's proceed. So when you calculate the CPI, you see also that there is an increase. There is an increase. Let's say always the CPI for the base year is 100, and when you see that the CPI for the base the year of 2019, it is 103.88 something. There is an increase. You see that the CPI also increased, the prices increased. So there is a 20% increase in the bread prices. When you look on the CPI and you calculate, you see that there is an increase of 20% between the year of 2018 and the year of 2022. It means that over those 5 years, there is an increase of 20%. As if I try to remember well, on the side of bread, on the CPI of 2K22, it was 120 something, yeah, and 20 something. When we know that in the CPI for our base year 2018 is 100, there is an increase of 20%. So that increase is the CPI. It shows that how the prices increased over the 5 years. It is same applied on the side of milk and the fuel. When we do the calculation, we see that there is an increase of 11.43% in milk on the milk side, and also there's an increase of 25 increase in the fuel price. Let's proceed with the inflation rate. So how is the inflation rate calculated using the CPI? So how it is calculated? It is calculated in this way. You take the CPI for the current year minus the CPI for the previous year over the CPI of the previous year. So you can ask yourself, why is the inflation rate of the 2K18 is 0? It is 0 because we don't know we don't know that we don't have the data for the previous years, so that we can use them to calculate its inflation. But for the year of 2K19, you take the CPI for 2K19 minus the CPI for 2K18 over the CPI of 2K18 at times 100, and you get the inflation. So we see this inflation in numbers. So how does it look on the graph? So we see that there is an increase. There is an increase over the years. So as we said, in 2K18 is 0 because we don't have the previous year, the previous data for the previous year. So here we have in 2K19 we have in 2019 we have the inflation rate of 3.881, and it has risen to 4.8.2 in 2020. So we see that there is an increase because of the increase in price. Also, the inflation increased. So when it comes on 2022-21, we see that it tried to decrease to decrease slightly, and also in 2022 it has increased again. So what does this tells us? So the impact of this increase and decrease of inflation on the consumer, it caused the consumer to cause the consumer's purchasing power to decrease. Why? Let's say if in 2K19, when we look on the data that we have, if it took 19, I would buy like 48 breads on one bread on $2, and the when I decide to buy for 48 units of bread on 96, and in the next year the same quantity increases increases the price. So on the desire of consuming that product will start to decrease, because the the price keeps the way the price keeps increasing. It's not the way my income is increasing. So I'll decide to decrease the way I consume that product, or to leave it completely, to leave it, to stop consuming that product, because the prices are increasing. So the fuel cost increases from the dollar 2016 dollars in 2K18. uh, the same quantity of 360 increased, and it goes to 2,520 dollars in 2022. Uh, this is a significant increase in price. So this increase can cause me as a consumer to stop. If I have another way of transport, another mean of transport, I can stop buying fuel. Yeah, and I use another way that doesn't require me to buy fuel, or I decrease the units that I use to consume. Another impact is that it increases the cost of living. So the way the prices are increasing, my income is not increasing. Like my boss can't, I can't go up to my boss and tell him that in the rent has increased, so you have to increase my income or my wage. So the consumer faces the high expenses of essential goods, like those. If those goods keeps increasing in prices, so I'll decide to stop consuming them. And also this will increase the cost. Like if the prices, the cost for producing these goods keeps increasing, those let's say if my landlady, if my landlady used to buy the bread on 500, if the next year the price increase on 1,000, that landed we try to increase also the rent to get money to buy that bread. So also the living costs we start to increase. Let us proceed with the next slide. The impact of inflation on the businesses. So the high operation cost, businesses face high transportation and the production cost. Let's say for those businesses who are highly dependent on fuel, which uses the fuel a lot. So if the price for fuel keeps increasing, also we increase our production costs to cover our expenses. So we increase the price. If the fuel increase as the production cost of our product, we increase the prices to cover the expenses and gain the profits. So let us proceed with the profit margins. The increased input cost for business producing bread and milk. So uh, let's say if the production cost of bread keep increasing, for me to get some profits, I will increase the price to gain the money that I lost while producing that bread. So the cost will keep increasing. So the impact of this inflation on the Rwandan's economy. So the inflation pressure decrease in consumer spending. If the prices increase, the consumer will stop or reduce the how he used to purchase he or she used to purchase that product. High cost for businesses affecting their profitability. If the cost increases, with the business will not gain the same cost, the same profit that they used to gain when the production cost was still low. The economic growth. So the inflation, what the inflation keeps increasing, the inflation keeps increasing, we see that it increases the prices. Also, we know that this increase in prices, it can also lead to unemployment. If in my company I see that the production cost is too high, and I'm not gaining some revenues, I will like dismiss some employees for me to reduce the expenses to secure the profits. So I'll not risk my business for some employees. So I'll reduce the employment, and I reduce the employment and secure my profits. So the moderate inflation can encourage spending, but excessive inflation, that is the way we see it on the side of fuel, can have the stability. So the impact of trade agreements of economics development. Here it was about the scenario that the trade agreement between two countries, which are Angola and Rwanda. So trade. So let us proceed with the impact of trade agreements on the economic development. So the moving on to trade agreements, these agreements play a vital role in fostering economic growth by encouraging cooperation of and the socialization between the two countries. A trade agreement between Rwanda and Angola could lead to strengthened economic ties, increased trade and investment, benefits which benefits both nations by allowing them to focus on the area where they can focus on in trade, mean their comparative advantages. Their comparative advantages. So let us proceed with the challenges in trade agreements. So there are several challenges to consider when forming the trade agreements. Both countries need developed infrastructures like roads and ports to facilitate smooth trade. They should also minimize the barriers to market access, such as tariffs. The tariffs, there are taxes charged on the, I think, the imported and the exported goods. So and the alignment of product standards and they should there are other challenges like political stability. If the politics in a certain country is not stable, if there is some wars, some crimes in that country, corruption in that country, and the consistent exchange in rates and in the currency. We know that in Angola they use I think Angolan kwanza, and here in Rwanda we use Rwandan francs. So these are crucial for the long-term success of the agreement between the two countries. So let us proceed with the global examples of the succeeded trade agreements. So here in these examples, we see the European Union, the EU. This European Union promotes the specialized and the unrestricted trade. So these are the trade agreements which have succeeded so far. There is an AFTA now, which is USMCA. This boosts trade and economic development in North America. There's China-Africa trade relations, enhanced infrastructure and trade divergent comparative advantages. So this by looking on the comparative and absolute advantages analysis, what I was talking about between Rwanda, we see that for Rwanda can produce 110 tons of coffee by using nine workers. 9 workers can produce 110 and 10 tons of coffee. But for Angola, eight workers can produce 90 tons of coffee. We see that the even though we are Rwanda and Angola are almost have almost the equal number of workers, but they don't produce the same tons of coffee. So, by looking on the plastic water tanks, we see that six Rwandan workers can produce 50 plastic water tanks, whereas for Angola, 7 workers can produce 70 plastic water tanks. With that going in the calculations, we see that there is a I see that in coffee, uh, Rwanda is doing well in coffee, and Angola is doing well in producing plastic water tanks. So to understand this more, let us go into the calculations. So when you calculate the opportunity for you to see the comparative advantage, you use the opportunity cost calculation. For let us if when you calculate the opportunity cost of Rwanda to produce 1 ton of coffee, we see that it is 0.4. For Rwanda to produce what to uh, let, so for Rwanda to produce 1 ton of coffee, we see that it has forgone 0.45 tanks to produce 1 ton of coffee. Whereas for Angola to produce 1 ton of coffee, it has forgone 0.78 tanks. We see that Rwanda for like Angola forgone many resources, like the resources which could be used to produce. If we take I don't know how I can say it, we see that uh, Angola forgot many resources than Rwanda. So let us see on the side of plastic, the water plastic tanks. So for Rwanda to produce 1 plastic tank, we see that one water plastic tank, you see that it forgoes 2.22 tons of coffee to produce 1 water plastic tank. But for Angola, forgoes 1.29 tons of coffee. So we see that in producing water plastic tanks, Angola doesn't use many resources as Rwanda. We see that on the side of Rwanda, Rwanda doesn't use many resources in producing coffee, but for Angola uses many resources, and vice versa for the water plastic tanks. Rwanda uses many resources, whereas Angola uses few resources. So, what is the interpretation of or the recommendation that we can give the two countries? Rwanda should focus on producing coffee production because it is where it doesn't allocate many resources, and that it is where it can get many profit by exporting it, because it does it is good in producing coffee, and Angola should focus on producing plastic water tanks and exporting it in Rwanda. So the recommendation is this: um, each country should each country should each country should focus in the area that it is good at. So this is the reference for where I got the information of everything I've talked here. It's not my idea. I've referred on other authors' ideas to prepare this presentation. Thank you for being with me in this presentation.